Throughout this presentation, I'm going to be discussing the issue of the lack of language immersion programs in the United States. To start, language immersion is a form of bilingual education. In these programs, students are taught the same various subjects that they would be taught in their regular schools, such as math, science, and reading. However, language immersion students will be instructed in two languages throughout the school day instead of just one. They're taught in their primary language for a certain block of time and then taught in a second language for another. These programs allow students to go through their education while becoming proficient in a new language. The image on the screen is a map of the world's prominent languages and where they're primarily spoken. In the world today, there are more than 7,000 living languages. 23 of these languages are spoken by over half of the world's population. Learning to be proficient in just one more of these languages provides an individual with numerous benefits. Though the United States has seen an increase in the implementation of these programs, the nation continues to fall behind other countries in the development and progression of bilingual education. The programs that do exist offer a limited variety of second languages. Ann K. Soderman states in her article that, quote, about 97% of the existing programs are in Spanish. There are a few Mandarin and Arabic language projects, despite the growing importance of China and our Gulf partners, unquote. Because the majority of students in the United States are not provided with access to these programs, future generations are left inadequately prepared for their futures. In this presentation, I will argue that the limited access to language immersion programs in the United States has an overall negative impact because it inhibits students' social, economic, and intellectual success. My audience for my final paper is Rachel Wise, who is the Executive Committee Chair for the National Association of State Boards of Education. The National Association of State Boards of Education is a nonprofit organization that contributes to the making of educational policies and programs. They work to prepare students across the U.S. to succeed in all aspects of life. This issue concerns Rachel Wise because implementing language immersion programs would greatly benefit students across the nation. These programs provide valuable skills in various aspects of the students' lives. I will make this issue important to her by compiling my research to provide solid, factual evidence that students are negatively impacted by the lack of language immersion programs. Knowing a second language allows for a greater appreciation of different cultures. Because of the United States' inadequate amount of language immersion programs, many students miss the opportunity to delve deeper into the understanding of another culture. Culture is a significant part of each individual's identity because it often largely influences their lifestyle and beliefs. Maria Axner discusses in her article, Understanding Culture and Diversity in Building Communities, how respect for other cultures is essential when creating a strong, equal community. Axner states, quote, we need to understand and appreciate many cultures, establish relationships with people from cultures other than our own, and build strong alliances with different cultural groups, unquote. Involving others of various cultures provides a community with different backgrounds, ideas, and viewpoints. This promotes the building of a society where everyone feels accepted. Language immersion programs effectively prepare future generations to positively contribute to their own communities by teaching students to develop knowledge of and respect for a different culture. Children must be taught to appreciate and welcome the diversity of each person. They more easily understand and accept this idea if they are taught this from a young age. Language immersion programs help to foster the idea of accepting each individual as they are, providing for a safer school environment along with preparing students to work together in their future communities. The U.S. not providing enough access to these programs prevents a lot of students from obtaining a wide variety of social and personal benefits. Other social aspects such as education, travel, and communications are enriched with the knowledge of a second language. An individual has more access to books, newspapers, and other educational materials that hold diverse information and viewpoints from different locations around the world. An individual's travel experience are enhanced when they know a second language. Their trips become more purposeful because they're able to more fully immerse themselves in the culture of the country if they speak the native language. They're able to more safely navigate other countries and communicate with locals. Being bilingual allows an individual to connect with other people that they otherwise would have been unable to converse with. There is an increase in the opportunity to make new relationships because language barriers are broken. Overall, there is a greater social advantage that language immersion provides to many students. Language immersion programs more adequately prepare students for global competition in the job market. Having knowledge of a second language is increasingly being seen as a valuable asset for employees. Many career opportunities within the job market are open to multilingual individuals, and these opportunities are being missed by the many in the United States who are unable to speak a second language. Tara Williams Fortune supports this by stating that, quote, many careers require you to work with other individuals who speak a second language. Many sectors require increasing involvement in the global community, from international business and tourism to communication and the diplomatic corps." Unquote. Proficiency in another language is seen as an advantage in almost every career field, from politics, business, teaching, or medicine. There is a growing need for bilingual or multilingual employees in order to communicate with companies and clients worldwide. Foreign relations will be further strengthened through a more multilingual society. According to Ann K. Soderman, quote, "The expansion of the global economy is transforming education worldwide. Providing second language experiences and knowledge about other cultures is key to any country's ability to remain competitive and increasingly recognized as critical to economic success." Unquote. Language immersion programs are a successful way of establishing a more linguistically diverse nation. When organized and implemented correctly, these programs effectively teach students proficiency in a second language. The economy of the United States is negatively affected because the limited access to language immersion programs leaves students insufficiently prepared for global competition. If the nation hopes to continue to be relevant in foreign relations, the U.S. must continue to further progress in the development of language education. Language immersion has a positive impact on the cognitive development of students. Because the majority of students are not provided with access to these programs, many do not receive the psychological benefits that come when learning a second language. Tara Williams Fortune states in her article that, quote, "Bilingual children develop the ability to solve problems that contain conflicting or misleading cues at an earlier age, and they can decipher them more quickly than monolinguals. They demonstrate an advantage with selective attention." Unquote. Children within a language immersion program are met with the daily task of switching between two languages. When a student does this, they experience a mental struggle that allows for the strengthening of certain cognitive skills. These skills include an increase in ability to focus and advanced flexibility in the shifting of mental tasks. They often exhibit enhanced problem-solving abilities and improvement in memory. Language immersion students often show an overall greater mental capability than monolingual students. These valuable cognitive advantages can be provided to students through language immersion programs. Listen and Learn Australia, a multinational company focused on providing language courses for groups and individuals, offers a counter-argument against language immersion. The authors state in their article that students in language immersion programs deal with more stress in their classrooms than the average student. They argue that in these programs, students struggle to express themselves adequately in their classrooms. Now, it is true that learning a new language can be very stressful, especially at a young age. However, while this claim is accurate, it does not capture the full truth. In her article, Ann K. Soderman explains that stress and a mental struggle is not only completely expected, but necessary when a student learns a second language. The struggle that language immersion students encounter is what contributes to the strengthening of their cognitive development. As students work to comprehend and utilize the language, parents and teachers are there to offer encouragement and be there to help. Their role is to monitor the student's stress and prevent it from becoming unhealthy. Given time, the child's cognitive skills will have developed, and not only will they feel a decrease in stress, but they will also deal with it easier. Asia Pacific's economics blog likewise argues against language immersion, claiming that students in language immersion programs have a harder time learning other subjects. Many express worry that receiving instructions in two languages confuses students and negatively interferes with their performance in these other areas of learning. It is accurate to say that children must deal with the task of juggling other subjects while simultaneously learning and speaking in another language. In a report titled "Dual Language Immersion Programs Raise Student Achievement in English," the authors state that research conducted on the subject of language immersion concludes that statistically, immersion students don't exhibit large advantages or deficits in the performance of other subjects. Similarly, Tara Williams Fortune says that, quote, "Proficient immersion students are capable of achieving as well as, and in some cases better than, non-immersion peers on standardized measures of reading and math," unquote. Both of these sources show that language immersion programs have no negative impact on other subjects. Rather, students receive similar, if not better, results as monolingual students. Language immersion equips students with skills that positively affect many aspects of their lives. There are various benefits and advantages that come from language immersion programs. Students' cognitive abilities are strengthened and enhanced, and they are more adequately prepared for their future careers. These programs allow children to have a greater, more accurate view of the world. Language immersion students are able to converse and build new relationships with those that they otherwise would have been unable to. The skills that the students acquire open the door of opportunity for them to be an influence and make an impact beyond the boundaries of their own communities. Students have an increased respect for and awareness and appreciation of other cultures, resulting in a more understanding and equal society. The current amount of language immersion programs in the United States does not allow for students to have sufficient access to these benefits. The lack of these programs impedes many students from achieving their potential. Ann K. Soderman argues that every child deserves to know that there is a whole world outside of their own personal community. She states, quote, "They will need this as they become adults in a world that will favor the citizens of the world over citizens of just a particular country," unquote. Each student should be provided with the opportunity to be a great influence in the world. They can more easily accomplish this if they are involved in language immersion programs. As a student progresses within the immersion programs, they will succeed in becoming a part of a larger, global community. Here are my references for the presentation.